Hello and welcome back to the Growing Through It podcast. I would just like to say that I just found out recently that there's another podcast called the Growing Through It podcast, and I am very upset with myself. Like, how did I not do a quick Google search to see if there was another podcast named that? Like, really? So now I don't know what to do. I'm like, should I change the name? But I'm like, it was a cute name. I don't want to change the name. But we'll see. I probably should change it, but at the same time, like, this podcast isn't going to go anywhere, so I don't really care that much, you know? I made a cute graphic already. I don't want to change it. Also, another thing that is, like, really irking me still is that none of my clothes fit me. Well, they fit me. Like, my pants fit me and stuff. So, as we all know, I had abdominal surgery, like, 2 months ago. And my clothes are back to fitting me, which is really nice. I'm no longer, like, incredibly bloated because there were some days where I really looked like I was like 5 months pregnant. But now we're like back to like my normal size, but I still can't have like things that are like tight on me. So like even like leggings hurt because they're like tighter, but like good lord, I can't put a pair of jeans on. Like they fit me, but they hurt so bad to put on. And I am just really sick of wearing the same outfits every single week and walking around in sweatpants. And it's like I was trying to get ready for a date the other day, and I was like, there's nothing in my closet that can fit me. So I just go around like in leggings and like roll down the leggings and stuff. But I'm like, I just look stupid. I want to put on a cute pair of jeans, you know? Like it's becoming fall, like the leaves are falling. I'm like, wear my cute boots and little sweaters with a cute pair of jeans. But no, I can't. But today I really wanted to talk about like redefining success because I think with a chronic illness, everyone throughout their life has big goals, big dreams, stuff that as you grow up, you're like, this is what I want to accomplish in life. I mean, since you were like a baby, people are like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think that when you're diagnosed with a chronic illness, all of these goals and dreams that you have kind of get flipped upside down, and you're kind of like thrown into this new world where you're like, I don't know what my goals are and I don't know what my dreams are because I don't know what I'm going to be able to accomplish. So I think when we're like trying to redefine success, that can be a really difficult thing to do. And, I'm at an age where I'm starting to kind of like look at what my career will look like and what my life will look like. And if I'm being honest, I have no flippin' clue, okay? Like, I'm like, I don't know if I can work a full-time job. Like, I don't know what that's going to look like. And if it is a full-time job, it's something that needs to be like heavily accommodating towards me, something that's like remote, or I can really be sitting down the whole time, stuff like that, that it's like, I never thought I would have to think about that. And I think it's really frustrating to have to think about that, obviously, because I mean, I'm getting my master's degree right now, and I know that other people in my classes are like, this is going to open so many doors for me. This is going to be amazing. And like, yeah, that's true for me as well. Like, I know it is going to open doors for me, but I'm like, I felt like I had to get my master's degree because I'm like, there's so many barriers in place with me and my body right now that like I need that extra degree to be like, hey guys, I have a master's degree, so please forget that I'm so violently ill. I think defining success with a chronic illness is very hard to do, and especially because I don't know what I'm gonna feel like an hour from now, much less like years from now. I don't know what my body's gonna be like. I don't know what I'm gonna be like. So it's just really, really hard to plan your life. And as someone that's a planner, that's like really hard for me to do. Let me like, this is like so irrelevant to you, but let me just like explain what I'm like going through at the moment. That it's like, oh, as a healthy person, like you probably don't think about like that. But if you are chronically ill, you're like totally gonna understand what I'm saying. And like maybe this is like helpful to be like, you're not alone in this. So getting my master's degree, right? As part of my master's degree, I have what's called like a practicum. It's like basically like an internship. And so I'm going to school full time, and then I also have to do this internship. And so that I'm like trying to balance being like, okay, like I have my schooling kind of figured out. Now I have this internship that I also have to figure out. And when I'm going through my day, I literally have to like allot my energy throughout the day. Like literally like what can I handle throughout this day, like energy wise. And so throwing this like mysterious internship on top of that is like very frightening, and like there's not a lot of like guidance on like what that really looks like right now, so that's just like terrifying. And on top of that, I'm like, I need dinero, I need some money, and so I was like signed up to coach volleyball because I've been doing that for years, and this was like pre-surgery and everything, and so I've signed up and I'm supposed to start in like a month. And now I'm like, okay, can I handle school, volleyball, and an internship? Realistically, not. If all these three things are like happening at the same time. So now, like, literally today, I made like this gigantic pro con list and like listed all of like my concerns out and my questions and like everything to be like, what can I handle? And like, for a healthy person, I think you would look at, okay, 2 part-time jobs and school. Easy peasy money, let's do it. But like for someone with a chronic illness, like that is so hard for me to say like, yes, I can or I can't, especially because maybe like one day I'm like, yeah, I can do all 3, and the next day I'm like, no, I can't do actually any of that. But at the same time, I'm like, I do want to continue my education. I want to continue coaching, but I also need to start like my career and things like that. That it's like, I can't sit here and wait to get better because that's not going to happen. And I think that is something that's really difficult with a chronic illness because everything is so unexpected. I wake up every morning feeling differently. I mean, mostly feeling terrible every morning, but it varies in terribleness. Some days are worse than others, and I just don't know what I'm going to be able to handle. So it's so difficult to like commit to things, and especially like work things, when I don't know what my body's going to be like. And that's so hard to explain to an able-bodied person. Like, normal people don't understand, and I shouldn't say normal because no one's normal, and like having a chronic illness doesn't make you not normal, but maybe like the typical average healthy body, like they don't view energy the way we do. And we meaning people with chronic illnesses. So like it's very hard for like an able-bodied person to understand me saying like, I don't know if I can handle this part-time job at school. Like, so many people are like, oh my gosh, you can do it, like just push yourself through it, like you can do it, you can do hard things, blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, like I understand that like I can have a heavy workload and stuff, but you don't understand what I'm going through. And even if I try to explain it, you also won't understand that. Like, I can say like, hey, like my body doesn't work like yours does, and some days I'm so unbelievably exhausted and in so much pain that I can't get out of bed. So that kind of like interferes with trying to have a job. And they'll say like, oh yeah, yeah, but like they don't get it. So I think kind of like going along with this, like a really heavily used theory within like the chronic illness community is the spoon theory. And you're probably familiar with it, but if you're not, the spoon theory is basically a metaphor that's used to explain what it's like to live with a chronic illness, chronic fatigue, or just kind of like disability in general. So for a healthy person, they have an unlimited amount of spoons. And spoons in this case represent like units of energy. So a healthy person has unlimited amount of spoons, but someone with a chronic condition has a limited amount of spoons. So, and every spoon is basically a task. So things like showering, cooking, going to work costs spoons. And like the more difficult the task is, the more spoons that you use up. And the idea is that once your spoons are gone, you have no more energy left in the day. And so I think this kind of like helps people understand the concept of like budgeting their energy. I don't know why we use spoons. Like, I feel like spoons was like a really weird item to use. I don't know what would be a better item, but spoons just like is weird. And like people being like, oh my gosh, like I'm a spoonie, like I get that, but it's like, that's just odd. Why did we pick like a utensil? Anyways. So I think, living with a chronic illness, you kind of start to understand what takes what energy and how many spoons that you are able to allot throughout your day. While, I mean, this does change. It varies day to day based off of your energy, but I feel like the longer you live with a chronic condition, the more you start to understand your body. So I think something that is really common for me is when I wake up in the morning, I think about all the things that I have to do, and I kind of literally like I'll either put it in the notes app. Sometimes this is like kind of crazy of me, but sometimes I will literally put my whole schedule into the notes app. Like whole schedule meaning like take a shower, brush your teeth, eat breakfast, like all of these things, and see, okay, where do I need breaks in between these things? And I will literally like allot breaks into my day-to-day life because I know what's going to make me tired. And maybe that's like crazy to do. And you could also like do that in your head. But I think it's a really good thing when you live with a chronic illness to be very in tune with your body. And that is something that I really had to learn, and something that I was not good at in the slightest, and was really good at like pushing myself past my limits and then like emptying my tank and like pushing myself into a flare. And even though I say like you need to allot your time, like there are some days that like you do your best and you still push past your limits, or you just like randomly flare and you don't really like know the certain triggers. But I think learning how to be really in tune with your body, I'm able to check my heart rate because I have an Apple Watch. I'm able to feel when I like start to feel more potsy and stuff, and to start to like understand these like triggers that your body has, and to know that when a trigger does occur, to try and take a break, I think is something that is super important. Another kind of like theory that is kind of similar to the spoon theory, but I think that I like better, I don't know what it's actually called. I think just like some random doctor told me this, but they kind of like, you think of your life in like a traffic light. So you have tasks throughout your life that are like red, green, or yellow. So green tasks are something that's relatively easy for you, that doesn't take a lot of time and energy, and that doesn't put a lot of stress on your body. Yellow is kind of the in between, takes a little bit of time, takes a little bit of energy, and then obviously red are tasks that are like super taxing and exhausting. So I think for me, I really try and like limit the amount of red tasks. If I'm thinking throughout my day and I'm like, oh, I have maybe like 3 or 4 red things, I'm like, that's not something I should really be doing today. Let me shift that. So I think, for an example, like a green task for me is, watching TV, reading a book, stuff like that, that still maybe is like beneficial to you, like emotionally, but doesn't impact my body that much. My dog's gonna flop on me. A yellow task is probably like doing my makeup in the morning. When I do my makeup, I sit down, and it only takes me like 10 minutes. So that like takes time and energy, but not that much energy that I'm like super worried about it, And a red task, is maybe meal prepping dinner, or taking a shower, or walking my dog. That's a real big red one. Like things like that really push you over the edge. And so when I'm looking at my day, I really try and allot a lot of green things, a few yellow things, and maybe 1 or 2 red thing, but really trying to like limit that and understand that that's something that you're going to struggle with, I think is super, super important. I think another thing that people with chronic illnesses have to deal with a lot is having to turn things down when you're invited to things or when things happen. As hard as that is, understand that it's necessary for your health. There's a lot of times that I've been invited places and I'm like, that sounds awesome, but I can't make it. Because I know that I have other things that day, or I wake up and I don't feel well. And I think that's something that people struggle with. What are you doing? I think that's something that people struggle with, and I definitely struggle with it because, when people are inviting you places and you keep saying no, those invites kind of stop happening. And I think living with a chronic illness really shows you who's going to show up for you in your life and who cares about you. And, I've lost a lot of friends in this because there's people who don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with people who are sick. And as sad as that is, at the same time, I'm like almost grateful because it's like, I don't want you in my life if you think it's too inconvenient for me to not be healthy. You know, if people aren't serving you, they don't need to be in your life. So back to the success thing, I really roundabout way there. I think success to me at this point is at like the bare minimum, like getting through the day and not being so utterly exhausted. When I can get through a day and I'm going to bed and I'm tired, but I'm not so emotionally and physically drained, like that's a win for me. And maybe that's like really pathetic, but I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, honestly, it's one day at a time here. Especially still recovering from surgery. It's like I'm going to do what I can, and if I can't do it, it's okay. Um Everyone's on their own path, and I need to stop comparing myself to like my peers who are my age because they are not in the same situation that I'm in. And I think another big, huge thing is to be proud of where you're at in life. Living with a chronic illness every day is so exhausting and tiring and sickening and horrid. But like you don't have a choice in that, and you're getting up every day and you're doing the damn thing. And at least for me, half the people I meet, I don't tell them that I'm chronically ill. Like, most people don't know that I'm sick. Maybe you can see it on my face some days, but I won't openly tell you that I'm chronically ill unless, like, I don't know, I really care about you or, like, see you in my life. So it's really, like, you never know what someone is going through. So defining success should really be on your own terms and no one else's. It's your life. It doesn't matter what other people think of you or what other people are saying. You're doing the best that you can, and that's all that matters. Do you live with a chronic illness and want to connect with people who truly get it? Check out Chronically Connected, an app created just for people with chronic conditions. Think of it as a giant group chat where everyone understands what you're going through. We have weekly prompts to spark real conversations. It's a safe space to ask questions and share experiences and build connections with people who truly get life with a chronic illness. It's simple. Click the link in the description to join. Just make sure you upload a profile picture so we know you're real. Let's grow through this together. Check out Chronically Connected today. But with this whole idea of success, I think there's a lot of things that I've learned over the past 5 years about kind of like symptom hacks, gadgets, drugs, all of the things that make my day-to-day life a little bit better. I think specifically, let's just like go through my drugs. I don't know if I can say drugs on YouTube. They're medication. They're not drugs, okay? But I just say drugs. Anyways, now I've said drugs about 1,500 times. For my POTS, I take a medication called ivabradine, or Corlinor. It's the same drug, medication. And the great thing about ivabradine, I've literally been on it for 5 years, is it only lowers your heart rate. And a lot of other POTS medications also lower your blood pressure, so then that like doesn't super help your POTS, like beta blockers and stuff, because it's like already lowering the blood pressure that's already low. So ivabradine has been a lifesaver for me because now when I stand up, it doesn't shoot to like 200, it shoots to maybe like 95 or something and then drops back down. So that is super, super helped my just overall energy because my body isn't working as hard. So that's been a great option. I'm also on a medication called Mestinon. I don't know, like the actual name. It's like pyrostigma. I don't know. That is like actually like I think it's like a muscle drug, but it like weirdly works for POTS. And that has insanely helped me with my energy. Not really sure why. I'm not a doctor, but it has been so helpful for me. I also get raging migraines, and I've done so many things for them, seen so many doctors. I used to think that the only medications for like migraine relief were like triptans. So I tried like sumatriptan, razatriptan, Zola, like literally all of them. And they gave me the worst side effects. And I feel like the side effects were like about as bad as the migraine, that I was like, this isn't helpful. Like, I don't need this. But I finally found a doctor that was like, hey, there are other medications besides triptans, and I was like, what? This is a miracle. So right now I'm on a preventative medication. Well, it's not a medication, it's an injection called Emgality. That thing is so painful. That is like one of my most painful injections that I'm on. Like, that is crazy, but it's okay because it's only once a month and it's worth it because it's really, really decreased the amount of migraines I've had. So check out check out Emgality. There's other injectables too. There's also a what's it called? Rescue medication that I'm on is called Ubrelvy. That has been super helpful for me. I don't really notice side effects to it, and it gets rid of my migraines pretty consistently, or at least decreases them, which is obviously very nice. Moving to stuff for my MCAS, I am on Zolar, which is also an injection that has helped with like energy levels and just kind of like overall histamine responses and things like that. I'm like less well versed in like my MCAS knowledge that I feel like I really actually need to like learn more, but it's a-okay. For my lovely allergies and MCAS, I'm also on Xhance. It's a nose spray as I sniff my nose. I've literally like horrid allergies, and so that maybe has been helpful. I don't know, I kind of just got started on it. If you're like not chronically ill, you're gonna be like, all these medications, like, I don't care what you're on, girl. But I always like to like tell people, because it's like there's so many medications out there that you like might not be aware of, and if I can tell you one that might be helpful, like, I'm gonna tell you, you know. The last kind of like big medication that I'm on, there's like a million other ones, but they're less like important. I'm on Hizentra, which, if you don't know, I'm incredibly immunodeficient. So I have selective immunodeficiency, and so Hizentra is an immunoglobulin replacement therapy. Basically, I'm getting other people's immune systems pumped into mine. It is not normal to get sick every single winter, and sick really, really bad. It's not normal to get multiple infections in a row, things like that. And so once I found a doctor who actually listened to me, surprise, surprise, I got put on Hizentra, and knock on wood again, it has been like a year and a half since I've gotten sick, which is like record-breaking deal for me, okay? There was a time in my life where I got like back to back infections, and that was kind of like when I was like, this is not normal, like something is wrong. So that has been a savior to me. There's always like pros and cons with any medication you're on. It sucks that I have to do this like long infusion once a week, but at the same time, it's like, if it's for my health at this point, I'ma do it. I also think there are so many kind of like tricks that you can use to help alleviate symptoms and kind of prevent things outside of medication. One of the things I really like for my migraines, it's called this migraine stick. A little plug for me. Most of this that I'm going to talk about is on my Amazon storefront if you want to check it out, anyways, it's called a migraine stick. It's basically like tiger's balm, but like in like this little stick, and so I rub it like on the back of my neck and like by my temples and stuff, pretty much like literally all over that I can. And it kind of is like the burning sensation of like the tiger's balm that, or like it's just like mentholy, and so then you're getting kind of like the tingly burning feeling, and that kind of like distracts from the horrid migraine, like someone is impaling you through your head, so that's been great for me. Maybe great's kind of an overstatement. That's been low-key beneficial. Another like obvious thing for migraines are ice packs or heat packs. I really enjoy heat more than ice. Maybe because I am a big baby and I don't like being cold, and I just don't love like the feeling of like this giant cold thing on my head. So I have kind of like this like heat, one of those like bead packs that you heat up in the microwave that literally just kind of like encases my whole head, and that's just slightly relieving. The other thing that's been great is there are like migraine glasses that you can get, that's just kind of like a tinted glasses that reduce like the awfulness of fluorescent lights and just kind of like the outside world in general. Another tip I use from a occupational therapist, they told me about this, hats for migraines, and that's actually been like super helpful for me. So like a dark colored hat, don't really do like white just because that doesn't really help with the light. So like a dark colored hat with like kind of a bigger brim, you can really pull down, and it's you end up like blocking out a lot of the light, which ends up really helping with your migraines because you're not like straining your eyes even more. I think some basic things for POTS. I have really liked some salt pills, but specifically the Vitacium salt sticks. I'll put them right here, maybe if I think about it. They're also on my Amazon. Um, they are like buffered sticks, so they do not upset my stomach. And if I'm telling you they don't upset your stomach, they probably won't upset your stomach. I won't guarantee it because you're not me, but I'm going to give you a 99.5% that they're not going to upset your stomach, okay? Because I have the world's weakest stomach. There was a time in my life where I was like first diagnosed with POTS, and they gave me like just normal like straight like sodium capsules that they were like, down this, girl, you got it. And every time I would do them, I'd be like, I am so ill, this is gonna make me hurl. And there was this one time I like told my mom, I was like, Mom, this is gonna make me throw up, like I can't take these anymore, I can't do it. And I had just eaten like a gigantic Zupa's salad, and my family didn't eat out a lot when I was a kid, so like eating out was like, ooh. So I was like so excited to eat the Zupa salad, and I had just eaten the salad, and like the salt pills were right in front of me, and my mom was like, take it, girl, like you just ate, there's no way it's gonna upset your stomach. Pop the pill, right? Maybe 5 minutes goes by, and I look at her and I'm like, I'm gonna throw up, I'm gonna throw up. And she's like, no, you're not. And I puked all of my salad right back into my bowl in the middle of the dinner table. I was like, I told you, girl. So ever since then, I've switched to the Vitasticks, the Vitacium, and it's been super helpful. I haven't thrown up since because of salt. So, and I just carry those around with me literally wherever I go. And if I start feeling like I'm like, ooh, I don't feel great right now, I just like pop 2 of those and helps a little bit, I also think another important thing is to like find some safe foods. And by safe foods, I mean stuff that isn't going to make you hurl, nauseous, or make you regret your whole life. And for me, a big one is plain Cheerios. I literally keep a bag of plain Cheerios in my purse, and everywhere I go, I bring Cheerios with me because I never know. There's sometimes you're just like having the best day ever, and then everything takes a turn, and you're like, I'm gonna throw up right now if I don't put something in my mouth. I'm gonna hurl all over you. And like a couple Cheerios, and that like soothes my stomach. Again, maybe this is just me, but finding safe foods has been super, super helpful. Another thing is I always have mints with me, some type of gum. I don't know why, but that always really helps my nausea. And I never know if it's nausea or nausea. I'm like, what is the difference? What am I saying wrong? When you go to a doctor, they're like, do you have any nausea? But then sometimes they're like, do you have any nausea? I don't know, okay? But I say nausea. And maybe that's wrong. But mints and gum have been super helpful for me. I've heard other people say they really like ginger. Like you can buy like ginger chews, like they're kind of like candy chews that you can buy. And ginger's supposed to like soothe your stomach, so ginger chews are supposed to be helpful if you want to like try that. I hate ginger, so I'm like, if I'm nauseous, I don't really want to put something that I hate in my body, I think another big thing is to always have a drink with you. I always have water with me literally wherever I go. Hydro Drugs sponsor me. Because again, like if I'm gonna throw up, like a sip of water, like sometimes that'll like calm things down. And obviously if you have POTS, like you should have a drink with you all the time because you should be getting your fluids. I think another thing if you do have POTS is compression stuff. That's very common, compression socks. I really like compression leggings. Whenever I'm coaching volleyball, I always make sure and wear compression leggings. I think the tricky thing with that is you have to find the good ones. And another thing with me is I'm gonna like sound so pick me, but like I'm too tiny for a lot of them. I'm just so petite, I'm totally joking. But a lot of the compression leggings, like their smallest size isn't tight enough for me, like the like normal brands. And also I'm like so picky that I'm like, if it's ugly, like I don't want to wear it, or if it's like, if this is giving me the world's worst camel toe, I'm not putting this on my body, So I really like this one brand from Amazon. I can't remember the name. It's in my Amazon storefront. But I really enjoy that. So if you can find some type of like compression legging that works for you, that's like obviously a great option. I think the other thing with compression leggings is they're like low-key expensive, especially because like they stretch out, so you have to like continue to buy them. Like it's not like a one-time purchase, which is like so annoying. Um, I visited a occupational therapist a few times, which, I never thought that I needed an occupational therapist, but he actually really gave me some like great tips that I still use to kind of like conserve energy. I think with a chronic illness, for many people, energy is an issue, and then that means showering is an issue because showering takes so much energy. And hate to break it to you, but you need to shower, okay? If you don't, that's gross, okay? Get in the shower. But things that have helped me, first things first, a shower chair, okay? I didn't know I needed a shower chair, but Lord have mercy, do I? It's great. I use it pretty much every time that I shower, especially when I'm like very, very ill. One, it really helps if you are a fall risk. And it just takes that energy off because you are now sitting and not standing, which is like super helpful. Another thing I learned is when I'm showering and I'm sitting in my chair, I always wash my hair when I'm sitting down. And this occupational person told me to only use one arm when I'm like washing my hair. So instead of like lifting, if you're watching this without the audio, with just the audio, like you're not gonna understand what I'm saying. But if you're lifting up both of your arms and like showering how you normally would, instead put one arm down and just use one of your arms to like shower on this side and then like switch and like do the other side. That's been like weirdly like so beneficial for me. I didn't really understand how much energy I was actually taking to like scrub my hair, but like doing it one arm at a time just kind of like takes a little bit of the toll off, which is like great. Obviously, I don't wash my hair every day because if I did, I would never leave my bed. So dry shampoo and like scrubbing one on one side has been like super, super helpful. I think the last two things, make your showers as short as you can. Sometimes they have to be longer than others, but obviously the shorter time you're in the shower, the less energy it's going to take. And I think the last thing is to not use super, super hot water. That may be hard for you, okay? But the hotter the water is, the more your body has to work. And so when it's not as hot, it's just less exhausting. I've like gone to a point that I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it out of the shower if it's hot. So the cooler, the better. As much as you can, though. Like, don't make your life more miserable than it already is. Anyways, I think just kind of like the big overarching idea of this is like as time goes on, you're going to learn what works for your body, what you need to do. I know in the mornings that I need to wake up and drink a ton of water and I need to have some tiny, tiny food in my stomach or I'm going to crash and I'm not going to feel good. Little things like that over time you're going to like learn about your body. So if you're freshly new to a chronic condition, know that it is going to get easier. It's not going to get easier in a sense that your symptoms are going to get better, but like it's going to get easier in a way that you're going to start to learn kind of what triggers what and why things are great and why things are terrible, So then hopefully you can get to a point where you're avoiding those triggers as much as possible to make your day a little bit easier. And I think a lot of people think it's like really silly for me to be doing like some of this content creation stuff. And like in a sense, like yes, it is really stupid. But one, like I enjoy doing it. I don't know why, but I also think it is so worth it solely because of the people that I've talked to. Living with a chronic illness is so unbelievably isolating and lonely and difficult. And I've had people reach out to me, asking questions about my experiences or just another person to talk to who's going through similar things. And if somebody can turn on this podcast and hear me talk and something I'm saying is something that they relate to, that's worth it for me. If I'm able to give someone a fragment of hope or the tiniest bit of help getting their diagnosis, finding more doctors, finding more resources, things like that, it's all worth it to me. I've gotten to talk to so many amazing people and learned about so many other people's stories that have helped me and helped me keep going because I know that other people are going through the same thing I am. Like, it's so worth it. Before I wrap this up, I have this embarrassing story that I must tell you, okay? Because I didn't know how I was going to get through it, all right? So, and I shouldn't put this on the internet, but I'm going to, okay? As we know, I had surgery like 2 months ago, specifically abdominal surgery, okay? Post that surgery, things have been awry, okay? One day, I'm constipated. The next day, I'm violently shitting my pants, okay? There's no in between, okay? Can't find the balance, won't find the balance. I'm sick of it, okay? Needless to say, over it. 2 days ago, hadn't pooped in a hot minute. I was like, you know what? It's time for me to step it up. Let's take some smooth move, a little laxative to get things going, okay? Usually I'm a Miralax gal, okay? But I was gone to a point that I was taking Miralax like every day, and I was like, this is too much, and things were not going well. I needed to be around a toilet 24/7, okay? This is like so much information for you. It's vile, okay? Anyways, I take the laxative. I wake up the next morning, I poop, okay? I'm like, amazing. My day's starting off well. And then it goes downhill, okay? I'm like maybe an hour into my morning, and I'm like, ooh, my stomach is in pain, okay? And I just keep pooping throughout the day, all right, over and over. And I'm in like so much pain. Like I was like walking around with a heating pad all day because my intestines were like screaming at me, okay? Just like, I feel like I was feeling the contraction all day, and it was just like, oh my God, this is too much. Like, couldn't even stand up straight because I was like, my intestines are so mad at me right now. Anyways, I had a date scheduled that night, okay, and I felt horrible to cancel this date, and so I was like, I'm gonna push through it. I'm gonna be a-okay, I was like, it's in the evening. I've got all day to figure this shit out, literally, okay? The date comes around. He's kind of aware that I'm ill, so I told him, I was like, my tummy kind of hurts. He was very nice about it. Anyways, he ended up coming to my place. We're going to paint pumpkins. Okay, we're going to be cute and paint pumpkins. I was like, God, I want to paint a cute pumpkin. Stupid chronic illness, okay? And so he comes over, and I've gotten to this point where now I'm like, oh no. Now I'm just tooting up a storm, okay? And these weren't any normal kind of farts, all right? They were lethal, okay? This is so graphic. But I could clear out a room, literally. But I was doing a really good job at squeezing them in and holding them in, okay? That I had not let one escape. Or I would keep, like, leaving my room, or I was, like, outside and was, like, could let one rip, literally. I can't believe I'm gonna put this on the internet, but you need to know. Anyways, we're like in my living room, like just casually watching a movie while we're like waiting for the pumpkins to dry, right? And I feel one coming, and I clench as hard as I can clench, and a whisper, a fragment, a fraction of a toot escapes my body, okay? And immediate regret. When I tell you, I stunk up this room so damn fast, and I was like, what do I do? How do I rectify this situation? I'm never going to see this man again. I can't come back from this. But then I look down and I see my dog, and I think, you are my sacrifice. I'm so sorry. And I say, oh my God, George, is that you? And he's like, oh, that's terrible. And I'm full on blaming my dog at this point. He goes, dang, George, you can really clear out a room. And I'm like, ha ha ha. Yeah, George, that's bad. That's horrible. It's me. I'm the one that cleared the room out. It was tragic, okay? What if this man sees this? What if he sees that I put this on the internet? Anyways, thankfully that was the only one. But when I tell you, I've never been more embarrassed in my life. Well, actually, I totally have, but it was just like worst case scenario. Could not believe it. So that better not happen again. I really need to figure out what the holy heck is going on. Well, I know what's going on. I'm recovering from surgery and things are messed up. But I'm like, when is this gonna stop? Because this can't keep happening, okay? And I'm telling this for you, okay? Because embarrassing things happen, okay? Moving on, I'm never speaking of this moment ever again in my life. Never again will I speak of the whisper that destroyed my apartment, okay? Anyways, moving on. That wraps up today's episode of the Growing Through It podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Love ya.